Hello, everybody. Here we are, outside Windhelm, next to the Shrine of Talos that overlooks the city. I've ventured this far north into Skyrim, into the frigid, snowy mountains. Not for sightseeing, but to find a rare tome, a rare book that I have heard was discovered, a copy of it was discovered by the mages at the College of Winterhold and taken into their collection. Now, as a self-described sage, of course I had to find this book and see if I could purchase it off the mages. I have a good relationship with the college and should be allowed entrance into their library. Now, of course, if I can haggle with the orc librarian, and we're going to hopefully let that snow bear just mind its own business while we pass by. The orc librarian who watches over the college's books can be a difficult character to negotiate with, so I hope to find him amenable to making a deal. We can see there's a dragon flying around here. But I spent the night in Windhelm and set out in the morning, leaving the city, and decided to stop at the Shrine of Talos to pray for a blessing on my journey and have my afflictions healed. And here we're passing through a common mill, Anga's Mill, I believe this one is called, although that might not be right. And there's many such mills throughout Skyrim's rivers. This dragon might be a problem. It's circling just around the path that I'd like to go through. Yes. I think he's about to spot me. Yes, alright, we're in trouble now. Well, not really. I happen to be the Dragonborn, so... And these dragons are really more like, I don't know, an infestation of rats, really. This one is Windhelm. Let's see how much of a challenge he presents. Oh, well. Hardly an issue. And now I'm just showing off here. Of course, the fun way to kill a dragon is to climb onto its head and just beat the life out of it with my sword. But that's another dragon, done and dusted. I'm basically the dragon exterminator for all of Skyrim ever since the dragons reappeared in Tamriel. With the return of Alduin, the World Eater. But with that bit of excitement out of the way, we can return to the path and continue making our way to the College of Winterhold. And, oh, we have some fellow travelers here. Tarandreth. I'm going to move away from him and his guards. I've heard of him. He is on the lookout for Ethereum, and if he knew that I had acquired some, he might respond violently, so we'll let him pass along. Here we have a sign pointing to Winterhold, so we'll follow that path. And we have a little frost troll here. I think I'm going to be as peaceful as I can with this guy, not kill him. Just send him back the other way and continue on my journey. Up ahead we see Fort Kostov. Of course, the city of Windhelm is held by the Stormcloaks and is the seat of power for Ulfric Stormcloak, who instigated the civil war that currently bleeds Skyrim of its native sons and has brother stand against brother. There's a mammoth skull, one of the greatest creatures to walk the lands of Tamriel. But Fort Kostov was recently taken by the Imperials. The Imperials snuck into the fort in a daring, bold maneuver and freed the prisoners that the Stormcloaks had been keeping inside. And then they launched a two-front attack, with the prisoners arming themselves and attacking the Stormcloaks from within, while another contingent of Imperials joined the fight from the outside. The Stormcloaks had no chance, and they fell quickly, but now the Imperials have garrisoned the fort and are breathing down the neck of Ulfric Stormcloak himself. Looks like we have another traveler on the road here. An old orc, fallen by some saber cats. He seems to have found an honorable death, as an old orc such as him would look for. And here we have Maik the Liar. Maik the Liar. I've heard tales of this figure. People say that he pops up throughout Tamriel, magically almost, and never seems to age, and that he has wisdom beyond mortal men. A noble traveling down the road on horseback with an imperial escort. But the book that we are searching for today is called Varieties of Daedra, and it contains knowledge acquired from Devaith Fear, a great Dunmer mage who has insight into the Lice Wraith. We'll deal with this pest and continue on our way. Devaith Fear was one of the great wizards of House Telvanni. He took care of people afflicted with the horrible Corpus disease, and he is not necessarily the most respectable figure. If you look into his daughters, if you learn about them, if you hear what people have to say about the relationship that he has with his so-called daughters, you might find yourself somewhat disturbed. But up ahead now we can see the College of Winterhold, out on a pillar of stone with a bridge spanning the chasm. And this is, of course, a geographical clue to the Great Collapse, a horrible disaster that afflicted Winterhold and caused half the city to tumble into the Sea of Ghosts. There's Talsgar the Wanderer, another fellow traveler. He's a bard who wanders near and far throughout Skyrim, plying his trade for wanderers on the road for a bit of coin. Let's see if we can... we might have upset this bear. And he's gone. A vanishing bear. But yes, the city of Winterhold, or, well, the town, though you could hardly even call it that now, has never recovered from the Great Collapse. It's just a few buildings left. And the citizens here are distrustful of the mages. Many blame the mages for the Great Collapse. They've never forgiven them. More Imperials. And maybe no. I thought about staying in the frozen hearth and getting a bed to warm my bones after the travel. But given my intention to travel into the college, I thought better of it. The citizenry might not take kindly to me if they knew my business was to see the mages. And given my friendship with the mages, I know that they keep a warm bed for me in their dormitory. The chasm that the bridge crosses over is deep, and many buildings and lives were lost when the Great Collapse plunged the community into the frigid waters below. In the college, I'm going to go into the Hall of Attainment and take a little nap. The travel through the snowy wastes and mountains of Skyrim does not agree with my Argonian constitution. I prefer warmer environments. And unfortunately, I don't remember which bed was set aside for me. Of course, I don't want to sleep in somebody else's bed, so let's wander around until I find one. But Devaithfir, the Dunmer, is very knowledgeable about matters of Daedra, and given my interest in the Daedric princes and the creatures of the Daedric realms, I have been long desiring to acquire a copy of Varieties of Daedra. This is my bed. Take a short nap here, warm up, and rest from the travel. And now it's off to the library to find the book. Hopefully it hasn't been snatched up by another collector. So, once I learned, of course, that the book was here, I put aside all my other business and immediately hit the road. Rare tomes, such as these, are in high demand for collectors and sages such as myself. And when you acquire word of one, you must act quickly. So, through the Hall of the Elements, I can enter the Arcanium, the library of the College of Winterhold. And I am somewhat concerned that the cantankerous orc librarian here might be unwilling to part with the book. But we will see. I'm being called the Archmage. They must be confusing me with somebody else. Alright. Let's see here. What have you got for sale? Urag Groshub. Books. Many good books here, of course, but here we are. Varieties of Daedra, and for only 16 gold. Now that is a deal that I am happy to make. Now I'll take take a seat in one of the Arcanium's cushioned chairs, take a load off, and read through the book. I just can't wait any longer. I'm not going to wait until I get home. I have to read through it now. And then, of course, I will bring it back home and store it in my library. But now that we have the book, let's go ahead and crack into it and see what lore about the Daedra we can learn. Varieties of Daedra by Arenia Drethen, healer and dissident priest. There is little chance of our ever understanding the various orders of Daedra and their relationships to the Daedra lords and their dominions. Of the varieties of Daedra that appear in our world, and the varieties of their relationships to their fellows and their Daedra patrons, there is no end. In one place and time they are seen to be this, and in another place and time they are seen to be the opposite, and in another place and time they are seen to be both this and that, and in completely contradictory terms. What Daedra serves this prince? What Daedra gives orders, and what Daedra serves, and in what hierarchy, and under what circumstances? What Daedra exist in fellowship with one another, and what Daedra have eternal enmity to one another, and what Daedra are solitary or social, and by turns solitary or social? There are no limits to the varieties of behaviors that may be observed, and in one place they may be this, and in another place they may be that, and all rules describing them are always found to be contradictory and in exception to others. Further, from whom may we seek answers to our questions about these orders? From mortals, who know little but what they may observe of another world? From the gods, who speak in riddles of enigmas wrapped in mysteries, and who keep things from us the better to preserve their dominion over us? From the Daedra themselves, who are never the models of straightforwardness or truth-telling, but rather are infamous for misstatements and obfuscations. And even were the Daedra to speak the truth, how can we know if they know themselves, or that there is any truth about them that is to be known? Or are all arrangements among the Daedra protean and ever subject to change? In short, what is to be known is little, and what is to be trusted is nothing. These things being said, I shall venture to relate what I have observed and heard of the relationships of the servants of Lord Dagon in my brief service to the Telvanni wizard Devaith Fear, when I sought him out, and offered to bring peace to the victims of Corpus in his sanitarium, once the prophecies of the Incarnate had been fulfilled, and Dagothur had been destroyed, and the Blight had been banished from the island of Vardenfell forever. Devaith Fear told me that he, by choice, trafficked only with two Daedra powers, Mehrunes Dagon and Azura. Azura, he said, knew and understood all things, and declined to speak of these things, or only spoke in riddles. Mehrunes Dagon, on the other hand, out of pride, fixity of purpose, and a predictable lack of subtlety in thought, knew nothing and understood nothing, and was inclined to speak freely and without falsehood. Devaith Fear said that Dagon's chief servants, the Dremora, were like him in pride, fixed purpose, and lack of subtlety, with the addition of the peculiar traits of honor and loyalty, both within their class and within their relationship to Lord Dagon. And Devaith Fear said that the Dremora were ordered into clans and castes, and these clans and castes were well defined. Individual Dremora might rise or fall in ranks, or move back and forth among clans, but only when regulated by complex oaths, and only at the will and pleasure of their Lord Dagon. The Dremora refer to themselves as the kine, the people, contrasting themselves to other Daedra, whom they consider unthinking animals. The term Kynaz refers to a member of the Dremora race, he of the kine. The least of kine castes are the churls, the undistinguished rabble of the lowest rank of Dremora. Churls are obsequious to superiors, but ferociously cruel to humans and other Daedra. Next in rank are the caitiffs, creatures of uncalculating zeal, energy without discrimination. Caitiffs are used as irregulars in the faction wars of the Daedra, as berserkers and shock troops, undisciplined and unreliable, but eager and willing. The highest of the regular rank and file of Dremora troops are the Kynvols, warrior knights who have distinguished themselves in battle and shown the deliberate steadiness of potential war leaders. Above the rank and file warriors of the churl, caitiff, and Kynvol castes are the officer castes. A Kynreeve is a clan sheriff or clan officer. Kynreeves are typically associated either with a clan fighting unit or an administrative office in the order of battle. The Kyn Marcher is the lord and high officer of a Daedric citadel, outpost, or gate. A Kyn Marcher's command is usually associated both with a unit and with a fief, a location or territory for which he is responsible. Above the Kyn Marcher is the Markynaz, or Grand Duke. A Markynaz is a Lord of Lords and member of the Markyn, Mehrunes Dagon's Council of Lords. The highest rank of Dremora is the Valkynaz, or Prince. This warrior duke is a member of the Valkyn, Mehrunes Dagon's personal guard. The Valkynaz are rarely encountered on Tamriel. Normally they remain by Mehrunes Dagon's side, or serve as commanders of operations of particular importance or interest to Dagon. Of the varieties of other Daedra I encountered while I served in Devaith Fyr's Corpusarium, Ogrims and Golden Saints, Daedroths and Winged Twilights, Scamps and Clanfears, there is much that might be said, but little that is helpful or reliable. I did note, however, that when Devaith Fyr sought a Daedra of a character like unto the Dremora, but of greater power and greater inclination for independence and initiative, or solely as a master, he summoned Zivalai, who are like the Dremora in personality and temperament, except that they hate subordination, and are liable to disloyalty and betrayal when they feel they have not been treated with the proper deference and respect. The feral, beast-like Daedra, like the Clanfear and the Daedroth, appear in the service of many different Daedric powers, and may represent common creatures existing like wild animals in the wildernesses of Oblivion. Other savage, semi-intelligent creatures like Scamps and Spider Daedra may also be found in the realms of various Daedra lords. The case of the elemental Atronachs, on the other hand, is less certain. Flame and frost Atronachs, for example, appear to be highly intelligent, but not all varieties of elemental Atronachs seem to be social, or to have the power of speech. Devaith Fyr preferred not to summon or deal with these creatures, had little experience with them, and showed no inclination to speculate upon their nature, so I learned little about them during my time at Telfyr. Well, that was certainly interesting, and revealing particularly of the Kyn Dremora, those who serve under Dagoth Pardon me, I'm getting my powerful figures confused. Not Dagoth of course, Mehrunes Dagon. So, I will be returning to my home with this book, so that it may be safely tucked away into my shelves and become one of my wonderful collection. But thank you for journeying with me to the College of Winterhold. On a cold, long walk like that, a bit of company is much appreciated. So until next time, my friends, thank you for joining me. Goodbye.